Let's get one thing clear right out of the gate. Being attractive is not about looks. It's not about the perfect jawline, the designer clothes, or how many likes you get on a selfie. True attractiveness is influence. It's energy. It's the way you walk into a room and shift the temperature without saying a word. So if you're ready to stop trying to impress people and start commanding respect, let's talk about 5 habits that will make you undeniably attractive. Habit 5-1's own your presence. Stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. Attractive people don't apologize for existing. They own the space they're in with their posture, their tone, their eyes, want to stand out. Then stop slouching, stop fidgeting, and start walking like you've got somewhere to be and nothing to prove, because confidence isn't loud. It's quiet. It's controlled. It's felt. Habit 5-8, speak less, say more. Attractive people don't overshare. They're not desperate to fill silence. In fact, they use silence as a power move. They observe, they listen. And when they speak, it matters. Cut the fluff. Speak with intention. People don't remember ramblers. They remember those who make their words count. Habit 3, protect your standards. If you want to be respected, stop tolerating what insults your value. Attractive people have boundaries. They don't chase validation. They know what they want, what they won't accept, and they're not afraid to walk away. Here's the truth. When you set high standards and stick to them, people will either rise to meet you or remove themselves. Either way, you win. Habit 5-9, master self-controlled discipline is magnetic. The ability to control your emotions, your reactions, your habits, that's real power. You lose all credibility when you're emotionally reactive. Want to be truly attractive? Stay calm when others lose it. Be the person people trust in chaos, not the one who adds to it. Your ability to control yourself tells the world, I'm not ruled by emotion, I rule it. Habit 5, stay curious, not complacent. Attractive people never stop evolving. They read, they learn, they grow, they ask questions, they challenge what they know, because intelligence is sexy. Growth is magnetic. Stagnation is repelling. So every day, do something that makes you smarter, sharper, stronger. Not for others, for you. Because the most powerful version of you is still becoming. So here's your takeaway. You don't need a new wardrobe, a new face, or a new follower count. What you need are these 5 habits. When you own your presence, speak with weight, guard your standards. Stay composed and keep evolving. You don't chase attraction. You become it. And when you become it, you don't compete. You stand alone. Confidence isn't about being the loudest voice in the room or constantly needing to be seen or heard. It's a quiet, commanding presence that speaks before you even open your mouth. True confidence is felt. It's an energy, a vibration that shifts the space when you walk into it. People may not be able to articulate what it is about you that draws them in, but they feel it. That's what makes it powerful. It's not showy. It doesn't beg for attention. It simply exists. And that's what makes it magnetic. You see, most people confuse confidence with arrogance. They think talking over others, taking up space with noise, or being the center of attention is what makes someone appear confident. But that's insecurity in disguise. The person who constantly has to prove themselves is still seeking validation. The one who's secure doesn't need a spotlight. Why? Because they are the spotlight. Their presence does the talking for them. When someone truly knows who they are, they move differently. Their posture, their tone, their eyes, all of it reflects a deep internal stability. You notice it in the way they stand, shoulders back, chin up, not forced, not exaggerated, just intentional. Their body language doesn't scream, look at me, but it tells you they're not to be overlooked. They don't need to demand the room. The room naturally adjusts to them. It's the way they make eye contact without flinching, without overthinking it. It's steady. It's calm. It doesn't seek approval or shy away from connection. Their gaze says, I see you, but I'm not performing for you. That subtle distinction is everything. Confidence is about being so grounded in who you are that the opinions and reactions of others don't shake you. You're not swayed by trends, praise, or rejection. You're not trying to impress. You're just being, and that's rare. When someone lacks true confidence, it shows up in overcompensation. They talk too much. They laugh too much. They laugh too loud. They dominate conversations not to contribute, but to be noticed. They constantly need reassurance, like compliments, applause. And while the world might momentarily reward that kind of noise, it doesn't last. Because people eventually see through the performance. They can sense desperation. And desperation is not attractive. Now compare that to someone who's selective with their words. They don't speak just to fill the air. They speak when they have something of value to say. And when they do, people lean in, not because they're trying to be profound, but because their words carry weight. They don't overshare. They don't over-explain. They say what needs to be said and leave it at that. That's powerful. That's presence. Confidence also shows up in how someone handles discomfort. When faced with criticism, they don't spiral. They don't lash out. They assess it, learn from it if it's useful, and discard it if it's not. They're not easily rattled. They don't need to be liked by everyone because their sense of self-worth isn't tied to external approval. And that self-possession makes people respect them, even if they don't always agree with them. There's also restraint in real confidence. It's the person who could clap back, but chooses silence. Not because they're weak, but because they understand the value of their energy. They don't fight to prove a point. They don't argue for the sake of ego. They know what they stand for, and they don't need to explain it. Silence becomes a weapon. Stillness becomes a strategy. In a world that rewards oversharing, overexposure, and loud personalities, there is immense power in restraint. There's something deeply attractive about someone who can simply hold their own, who can walk into a room and, without saying a word, make others feel their presence, not because they're trying to be impressive, but because they've done the work. They've built themselves from the inside out. And that kind of inner work can't be faked. People often ask how they can be more confident, more attractive, more respected. The answer isn't found in shouting louder or trying harder. The answer is found in stillness, in self-respect, in being so in tune with who you are that you stop seeking permission to exist. You don't need to wear your accomplishments. You don't need to explain your worth. You just show up, and that's enough. When you become that person, the one who doesn't need validation, the one who doesn't flinch under pressure, the one who isn't trying to be anyone but themselves, you become magnetic. People may not know what it is about you, but they'll feel drawn to it. They'll trust it because deep down, we're all searching for something real. And confidence, real, grounded, unshakable confidence, is rare. It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the most certain. The one who doesn't need to be heard to be felt. That's what presence is. It's not something you wear. It's not something you fake. It's something you become when you stop looking outward and start building inward. Boundaries are not walls. Their standards. And the moment you start treating them like an essential part of your identity, not just optional preferences, you begin to change how people see you. More importantly, you begin to change how you see yourself. People who are truly attractive don't try to please everyone. They don't dilute their worth to fit in. They don't stretch themselves thin just to be accepted. They protect their peace their energy, and their values ruthlessly. And that protection comes through boundaries. Your boundaries signal to the world what you will and will not allow. They define the level of access people have to you. Not everyone deserves the same version of you. Not everyone has earned the right to your time, your presence, or your vulnerability. When you fail to set boundaries, you send a message, I don't fully respect myself, and the world mirrors that message right back. You get overlooked, taken for granted, used, and then you wonder why people don't treat you the way you want to be treated. The hard truth, you train them not to. Attractive people don't beg for respect. They set the tone for it. They don't chase, they choose. They don't explain their standards, they embody them. If someone crosses the line, they don't justify or plead or negotiate. They simply enforce the boundary. No drama, no debate, just clarity, just consequence. Because when you know your worth, you're not afraid to lose people. You're afraid of losing yourself by tolerating less than you deserve. Think about the most compelling people you've ever met. There's a certainty about them. A don't mess with me energy that's not aggressive. It's just clear. They're not rude. They're not cold, but you instinctively know not to waste their time. Why? Because they've built a reputation with themselves. They've decided how they expect to be treated, and they don't waver. That level of conviction is attractive because it's rare. Most people fold. Most people bend. Most people accept crumbs and then feel bitter when the cake never comes. But attractive people walk away from crumbs without hesitation. They would rather be alone than in bad company. When you protect your standards, you filter your environment. You attract better relationships, better conversations, better opportunities, because you're no longer tolerating what drains you, disrespects you, or distracts you from your purpose. You become selective, not out of ego, but out of self-respect. And that selectiveness is what gives your presence power. Not everyone can sit at your table. And that's not arrogance, that's discernment. The challenge is most people confuse being nice with being boundaryless. They think saying yes all the time makes them generous. That being constantly available makes them loyal. But what it really makes them is exhausted, resentful, and unattractive, because there's nothing attractive about someone who abandons their own needs to meet everyone else's. People may use you, but they won't respect you. And respect is the foundation of all attraction. Without it, everything crumbles. Boundaries aren't just for how others treat you. They're for how you treat yourself. Do you protect your time? Do you honor your commitments to yourself? Do you say no when you mean it? Or do you say yes to avoid conflict? That inner negotiation, that internal boundary setting is where self-trust is built. And self-trust is the core of charisma. People can feel when you're aligned with your own values. It shows in how you speak, how you move, and how you show up under pressure. If you want to shift the way people respond to you, start by shifting what you tolerate. Stop explaining why you need space. Stop apologizing for saying no. Stop justifying your standards to people who aren't living your life or carrying your burdens. Attractive people don't negotiate with those who question their limits. They let their actions speak. You can feel their no in the way they exit a room, in the way they stop replying, in the way they stay calm while distancing themselves from toxicity. That calmness isn't weakness, it's control. Control over their energy, their time, their emotional investments. When you allow repeated disrespect, whether in a relationship, a workplace, or a friendship, you normalize mistreatment. And the longer you stay silent, the louder the disrespect becomes. But when you enforce your standards consistently and without fear, people adapt. They either step up or step out. Either way, you gain clarity. Either way, you get closer to what aligns with you. People often worry that having strong boundaries will make them less liked, that they'll come across as difficult or hard to approach. But here's the truth: people respect clarity, they crave structure, and the ones who resist your boundaries are usually the ones who benefited from you not having any. If someone gets angry because you finally started protecting your energy, they were never supporting you. They were using you. Setting boundaries is not about shutting people out. It's about honoring yourself. It's about saying, I refuse to abandon myself to make others feel comfortable. That statement, lived out consistently, is a force. It's not loud. It's not arrogant. It's clean. It's strong. And it draws the right people to you. Not because you begged for their attention, but because you taught them how to treat you by how you treat yourself. Self-mastery is the deepest form of attraction because it speaks to power, the kind of power that doesn't need to be announced, proven, or performed. It's the quiet strength that radiates from someone who knows exactly who they are, what they stand for, and what they're capable of. It's not reactive, it's intentional. The person who has mastered themselves doesn't flinch under pressure, doesn't seek external permission, and doesn't chase chaos. They create calm, they create clarity, and they command attention simply by being composed. We live in a world that's addicted to reaction. Everyone's triggered, everyone's on edge, everyone's in a rush to respond, argue, prove, or cancel. But the most magnetic people, the ones you can't help but respect, are the ones who move above it. They don't get pulled into the noise. They don't flail when things don't go their way. They understand that power isn't in controlling others. It's in controlling yourself. Your emotions, your decisions, your habits. That is the battlefield. And the ones who win that war, they stand apart. Self-mastery starts with emotional discipline. Anyone can act tough when things are going well, but what about when you're disrespected, misunderstood, ignored? That's the real test. Most people break there. They lash out, they beg for attention, they try to force outcomes. But someone who has mastered themselves doesn't hand over their emotions like loose change. They process internally before reacting externally. They don't explode, they assess. They don't beg, they observe. They give nothing away for free, especially not their emotional energy. People pay attention to how you handle pressure. They remember how you respond when you're tested. When you're calm in chaos, others instinctively lean into your lead. That's because composure is rare. We're trained to believe that louder is stronger, that emotional outbursts are authentic. But the truth is, anyone can be loud. Anyone can lose control. The real flex is staying grounded when the storm hits. That's where trust is built. That's where presence is felt. Mastery also shows up in consistency. People who are attractive on a deeper level don't just show up when it's convenient. They have routines, rituals, disciplines, habits that shape them daily. They wake up with purpose, not passivity. They train their bodies, sharpen their minds, guard their time. And it's not for applause. It's because excellence is a personal standard. When someone is consistent, you can feel it. There's a rhythm to their life, a sharpness in how they carry themselves. They don't need to tell you they're focused. You can see it in their eyes, in their posture, in their results. Most people crave quick fixes. They want to look attractive without doing the inner work. They want charisma without character. But self-mastery requires patience. It's built in silence, in repetition, in moments when no one is watching. It's forged in uncomfortable decisions. The early mornings, the turned down temptations, the disciplined conversations with yourself. When someone has done that work, it shows. Not in how they dress, but in how they hold themselves. There's no desperation, no thirst for validation, just presence. just quiet power. Another layer of self-mastery is learning how to direct your focus. The average person is distracted, impulsive, reactive. They consume whatever content shows up in front of them. They let the world program their thoughts, influence their moods, dictate their standards. But those who are truly magnetic don't allow noise to shape them. They are selective with what they feed their mind. They are conscious about who they give time to. Their life is curated. Their focus is intentional, and that makes them more attractive than any surface level trait ever could. People don't always notice why they're drawn to someone with self-mastery, but they feel it. There's an unshakable energy that surrounds them. They don't gossip, they don't chase, they don't panic. Their life has structure, their boundaries are clear, and they treat themselves with the same respect they expect from others. That kind of internal alignment is rare, and rare is always attractive. There's also a deep humility in real mastery. The most grounded people aren't loud about their wins. They don't inflate their achievements to gain status because they don't need approval to feel successful. Their standards are internal. They know what they're capable of, but they also know there's more to learn. They carry a quiet confidence, one that doesn't diminish others, but raises the standard for everyone around them. When you master yourself, you stop being at the mercy of circumstances. You stop living in reaction to other people's energy, moods, or opinions. You create your own weather. You walk into a room and people sense something different, not because you're trying to be impressive, but because you're in control of your posture, your tone, your choices of your life. You no longer need to dominate conversations to be heard. You don't need to flex to be noticed. The calm in your demeanor speaks louder than any performance. The discipline in your routine reflects a deeper commitment, and the stillness in your mind radiates strength. When everything around you is chaotic and you remain steady, you become the anchor, you become the example, you become the standard.